I'm on my way to the gym. If you've been following any of my videos, you know I'm on this journey of trying to get healthier. I had blood work that was done recently where I had high cholesterol, my A1C was high, triglycerides were high. I thought I was eating pretty good and kind of found out I wasn't. So when I met with my doctor, I talked with him about not only did I want to go see a cardiologist, get an echocardiogram done, just because I wanted them to take a peek at my heart and see if there's something going on that I need to be aware of. But I also asked to meet with the nutritionist. And so I wanted to tell you a little bit about how that meeting went. I actually met with a nutritionist, and one of the things that stood out to me was I'm there talking with my primary care doctor about, here's all these results. And of course, the comments were just so nonchalant. Hey, we're going to do this medication and this medication, and then you need to, you know, eat better and exercise more. And so in, a 10-second statement, there's zero direction, zero guidance, nothing to go with it. And I'm sitting there thinking too is everybody says eat better, and that's why I am glad that I had asked to speak with a nutritionist. In fact, the nutritionist kind of like, I think she almost got choked up there when I told her the story, which was, eat better, but then no guidance. That's junk. I'm sorry. It's a bunch of crap. So I meet with her, and there are certain things that I know. I used to wrestle when I was younger. I wrestled for 13 years. So I did dieting, but that dieting was more for, cutting weight and that type of stuff. And so uh, we jumped into a variety of things. One of the big ones for me was portion control. I need to Im- reduce the amount of food that I'm eating, and I know that's going to take a while. We discussed habits, that it takes 6 to 8 weeks for somebody to change their habits. Um, we obviously talked about the different kinds of food. So she had this chart, basically was a plate, and it wasn't like the old food pyramid thing. She did show something like that, but it was more of, there needs to be like half of my plate, a 9-inch plate. There needs to be more of the vegetables and specific types of vegetables, the soluble fibers. I think I talked about in my top 10 veggies video, but half of the plate needs to be that. And then obviously cutting out the red meat. I'm not a salmon fan. I feel bad for saying that. I know there's people like, oh my gosh, I love salmon. And I don't know. I always think I grew up in Ohio, and you know, seafood was Gordon's fish sticks, frozen and heated up. It was, I always hated that dinner. It was pretty disgusting. So, but working in obviously all of the loin type of cuts of meat, the skinless, any of the, chicken or turkey, those kinds of meats. I mentioned again the soluble fibers, more fibrous types of foods. Like a funny quick story, there's this burrito place. I think I've even worn their shirt before. This place called Calafia. Just love it. Oh my gosh. And I would normally turn down the beans because they, normally get me feeling kind of bloated feeling. But she's like, no, the beans are got that right kind of fiber that's good for you. Um, the saturated fats, that was one of the other ones. Was I am like a peanut butter fiend. I absolutely love peanut butter, and of course the ones that I like are not the good kind. So I told her I have been switching over to the 100% peanut version. I found one that I like that's pretty darn good. It's not the biggest jar of it, but anyways, that's like my little treat. But the unfortunates are that it's loaded in fats, all that. So the saturated fats was the one that I need to be looking out for. There's all the other kinds of fats that they discuss, but cutting that down or cutting that out. The other one that was interesting is, I guess I never really understood. I knew that carbohydrates, that there was sugars connected to that, But what I didn't understand was it'll say, okay, here's dietary amounts that are, so many grams of those carbohydrates, and that's not necessarily bad. And then there's I got to get over. Then there's um, the sugars. It'll just say sugars, and those are natural sugars that are in, that product, whatever it is. And then there's a line that says added sugars, and this added sugars is just them adding the sugar junk on top of stuff. So even if you're eating something that was sugary, and she was showing me something where I'm not trying to knock any kind of product, but it was something you would put on like a salad topper, and it was a fruit, dried fruit type of thing. And oh my goodness, I couldn't believe how much added sugars were on top of the already natural sugars. And it's just not good. So one of the things, the other one that I thought was kind of interesting was she asked me, when you eat, are you holding a fork in your hand, or the whole time, or do you set it down? And I already knew where she was going with that. And my admission to her was, yes, I do actually set it down. I'm not sitting there like doing this, but I have caught myself many times like eating food quickly. And I told her one of the ones is anytime it's like a hand food. So not that I'm eating cheeseburgers all the time, but when it's pizza night, which is just relatively common. We might have pizza once every week, once every 2 weeks. But man, I can put away 4 slices like no problem. And there's a local pizza chain here in Phoenix that's just, really good. Honestly, I'd put them up against anybody, but I think everybody feels that way. So anyways, I could eat 4 slices, but I noticed many times that I end up kind of feeling sad afterwards, because I realized like I was looking forward to eating it, and then I just scarf it down, and I didn't really enjoy it. So she talked about pausing. She talked about getting to 80% of eating that meal and stopping. And I told her how when I sit down and eat, which is normal, that I can just keep on eating, and then I get up and start moving around, and I feel just so loaded up and everything. And so again, it goes back to I've got to stop, I've got to pause. So why all of these things? I'm 51 years old. I'm looking at this next part of my life. I got these test results back and they weren't good. And just like this mindset shift that I talked about just financially and changing my life, I have to stop thinking like I'm in my 30s. I need to start thinking like I'm in my 50s. I don't know if you have that situation. Please let me know in comments if it's just a struggle, because I don't think anybody wants to go, I'm old now, and so I'm gonna do all these things when I get older. It's like, well, when did that start? When did you start getting older? And I think, the reality is I'm already there. And these blood tests are coming back and telling me I need to do it. And I could sit there and dismiss this whole, it's genetic, I got it from my dad, whatever, but that just means I have to work harder at it. So I don't know if you have ever met with a nutritionist, if you've got good information back. I don't know how you feel about meeting with a nutritionist. I found it to be very valuable. And I did actually set a second follow-up appointment with her. Oh, and one last thing that I wanted to mention, my A1C was high. And I mentioned I was on this metformin stuff. And she had told me, even though I weighed in at 182 pounds, that I still need to lose weight. So I have a goal right now of trying to lose 5 pounds, basically in about 2 months and 1 week approximately. So I've got a little over 2 months to lose 5 pounds. I secretly want to try to lose 6 pounds. And I know that seems kind of wild, because maybe I don't look like some, I don't know what, round individual, but you have to lose weight. So anyways, that's my video here, and just wondered if you've gone in the direction of not just this medication, but actually getting advice from a nutritionist. So anyways, thank you so much. Appreciate you watching. Hope you're doing well.